Assalamualaikum and good morning. Today our group will be presenting language skill assessment portfolio for our project, English language testing and evaluation. So before we go ahead, let me introduce our group. My name is SHAZWAN bin Musa.
And my name is AFFEL bin JICKSON.
And that is all for our group. Now let's move on to the first task. I'll pass on to Eiffel.
All right, thank you, Shazwan. So, for the first activity and rubric, we're going to talk about the listening part of English language. Okay, before anything, let's start with the activity first. So, the activity would be similar to what we do uh, in SPM, where we will be sitting on a chair and listening to the audio. Uh, the difference is uh, the student will be given a questions based on the audio itself. So for the audio, I will be using a story with the title "The Injured Cat." Now, on the right side of the slide is the rubric with its criteria. So as I explain, as I explaining the rubric, I will talk about the reason itself why we choose to design it, why I choose to design the rubric this way. So basically, few criteria of this rubric is accuracy of answer, understanding of the main idea, recognitions of key details, and use of relevant informations. So basically, when it comes to listening, one of the important thing is accuracy in listening to the audio. Whether you can catch the words by words and also catching the main idea of the story itself. In this case, the story. Okay, so that's why we decided to put this criteria in making the rubric itself. Also, recognition of the key details. As we know, a story has to have a detail. And also, this is for when they are answering the question itself, whether the information that they use or that they heard in this case is based on the idea or not when they are answering the question given to them. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is reading. Now, for reading, this is the activity will be reading comprehensions. Student will be given a passage. For example, the example that I use in this project will be the Putri Gunung Ledang in English, obviously in English translations. Now, how we assess the student is by giving them a set of questions. Um, this question obviously will be based on the passage given to the students, and the questions in those uh, questions set of questions would be questions like information transfer and summary. So for this activity, you have to adjust the difficulty a little bit, especially when it comes to the time required to answer the questions, because each student have different level of proficiency. So as a teacher, you just have to adjust how much you want to give the students. Obviously, the longer the time that they take, uh, the lower the proficiency of the students. Now, I already talked about two of this activity. This board activity is actually quite formal in a sense, so it can be quite boring. Uh, but here's the thing. I think the most important thing about this a kind of activity is the adaptability, which means you can change, for example, you can change the position of the sitting of the students to make it more interesting for the student to answer the question. You also can change the mode, for example, in a group. Obviously, this is also depending on the proficiency of the student itself. Anyway, this is about assessing the students. Okay, forget about the why I choose this rubric. First of all, when it comes to reading, comprehending the main idea of the passage is one of the most important things. If you don't understand the story, what is the purpose of reading the story itself? And also recognizing all of the detail in the story. When it comes to organizations of idea, this is for when they are answering the questions. For example, the organization of idea is for the summary, whether they're able to summarize the whole story, and also whether they're able to use their own word in creating the summary itself. So I think that's all from my part. I will give it to Shazwan next. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Eiffel. Now we'll get into task 3, writing task. So essentially my activity is the student is instructed to write a complaint review for a product they have ordered. So they are tasked to write minimum 120 to 150 words, and they have to include these things. They have to include problem with packaging, issue with the product, evidence rating, polite tone. They cannot use cursing and harmful messages, and they also need to suggest improvement in the review itself. So essentially my activity is to teach them how to learn how to make proper meaningful review in real life. And the rubrics that I've used is the analytical rubrics, essentially because it covers multiple different skill. So as you can see here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 skill that it covers, unlike other rubrics where it covers only one skill and like 5 level. For this one, each level, each criteria have their own level and their own description to tell us what do we expect from it. The description is very detailed and very different from each one. It's not the similar, it's not the same. So the teachers can know and also know the strength and also know any weakness that the student facing when they are writing the task, because as you can see, unless they get 4, if they get 3, we can still see what kind of error they can get. Some error can sometimes be, for example, the very top, there is 3 error that can occur that can make them get only 3 marks instead of 4. For example, most of the prompt only most of the prompt was used. Maybe some of the minor details are missing, or maybe the tone that was used, it wasn't really wasn't very polite. Maybe they accidentally use harmful message inside. So next is the last one is the speaking task. Speaking task for my activity, it's try to advertise an item. So essentially, the student will be given at least 20 minutes, and then each student will volunteer themselves or I'll pick them to come forward and try to sell or promote an item individually to an audience or the classmate for a brief 2 to 3 minutes. Item can be real or imaginary. How they display it, up to them. They are given freedom, creativity to this to create or to just persuade the student that the item is real. So the things that I have to include in the promotion itself is future benefits and uniqueness. And same as previously, I'm using analytical rubrics that covers multiple different skill, and detail of the description of each level criteria is very descriptive, and it's very different from each other. So I can actually give feedback to my student effectively for each level of criteria that I want to judge on them. So essentially, for example, as previously I mentioned that they have to include the 3 things in their promotion: features, benefits, and uniqueness. This is very needed inside their first category, which is fluency and coherence. Wait, no, sorry. Inside task completion, which is the last one, task completion, it includes promote the product completely. If they miss 1 or 2 of the product, they will go lower marks from 4 to 3, or maybe 2, or maybe 1, depending on it. And that is all from me. Thank you.